Welcome back to Mark Holub's Vlog, everyone. Thanks for joining in today. I want to add in a little bit. I had that video yesterday that I talked about, basically how to motivate yourself and the motivation to do things that you want to do. And I just want to extend that because I thought about this in further depth here. And, overnight I got up in the morning and I started thinking about some other factors. And one other key thing to think about is, we all flail around in life and, we're basically a sum of our experiences and our environments. And one thing I really want to talk about is having no regrets. Because to really enjoy your life and to, live it to the fullest and have those things that, are satisfying to you, there's lots of things that you have to think about. And having no regrets is the key. So being motivated to do those things, absolutely. And of course, I'm not going to get a whole lot down this trail of talking about motivational speeches, but I believe having no regrets is key to having a great lifestyle and, of course, living the life. Because remember, we talk about, life's too short to drive boring cars. Yeah. And if you're a car person, then you'll definitely agree with that. You'll think to yourself, can you imagine thinking back? Okay, you're 80 years old, you're sitting in your rocking chair, you're all decrepit and worn out, hard life of having fun and frivolity, and you think back, okay, but I didn't do a bunch of things. I kind of regret that. Let's put it this way. There's a few things that have been hitting home for me lately. I've had some friends, unfortunately, recently. I had one friend that recently just died, and they were essentially passed away at 40. I know my wife had one of her best friends she grew up with passed away at 31. Another gentleman about 10 years ago that I was working with, a close coworker of mine, unfortunately moved on he was also, I think he was 40 or 41 when he finally decided to walk through the pearly gates. So, you hear stories like that all the time, and I don't want to be dwelling on those things. I mean, all we can do is celebrate the people that we had time with and celebrate their lives, but it's not about that. And I'm not getting all religious. What I am getting at is to talk about not having those regrets, seeing those people around us. Unfortunately, we could be here till we're 95, but we may not be here till we're 95. We might be gone tonight. So, I am of the true belief of not having regrets. So further to the motivational talk, I just want to add in here, not having regrets. And how do you avoid not having regrets? Well, one thing is identifying those things that you're very passionate about. I mean, we all know that we all have those things that we love doing, whether it's, driving cool cars. Don't let those people around you, the naysayers, we talked about that yesterday, and the naysayers, if they have enough influence on your life, you could find yourself actually avoiding those decisions, avoiding buying that fun car, avoiding taking that golf trip, avoiding traveling, avoiding doing those arts and crafts, or avoiding those hobbies that we love so much. If you're going to let naysayers take over your life, you will have regrets. So I'm truly living the belief that, and I mentioned yesterday, I had people bearing down on me, telling me it's a stupid play to buy a Porsche. And you know what? I do believe that I made the right decision. I look back and I don't have any regrets. Even if I lost money on that transaction, it still would have been a good call. So the big thing, there's a few takeaways here of not having regrets. One, of course, is, again, enjoy the hobbies. Don't let those naysayers sway you and forcing you into a decision where you're not doing the things that you really love, because truly enjoying those things that you love are the things that are going to give you fulfillment. The other thing is, don't spend time around people that are just bad and Debbie Downers. Spend time around friends and family, or people that just jack you up, lift you up to a higher level, don't bring you down. If you're around people that are constantly negative, or even you say something, you say orange, they say blue. You say yes, they say no. I mean, stay away from people like that, because looking back, you're going to know that those people had a pretty substantial impact. At the time, it may not seem that way, but at the end of the day, when they're saying things like that, that always puts this negative spin on any decision you're going to make then going forward. It's all psychological. You think, okay, well, even though I don't necessarily agree with that person, a year down the road, you might be confronted with a similar decision, and you'll have that little devil in that left ear telling you, no, don't do it, or yes, do it, right? So, do the things that make sense. Do the things you're passionate about. Spend your time with good people that make good decisions, that are positive, because negativity has no place in life. And honestly, I know we all get down in those little dumpers, and it's easy to follow the rabbit hole with the things that go on around us in the planet today. But keep yourself surrounded by positive people. Other things to think about, of course, are, you got to reflect back in the past. So maybe you made some bad car purchases. Maybe you bought that car you thought you wanted. Or maybe, you made a decision that you thought you wanted at the time. So 2 things to this whole reflecting. Reflecting on the past, of course, is, you can learn from that. It doesn't mean you regret it. I don't believe any decision we make is regrettable. I think we look at it, we say, okay, we made a decision. It wasn't the greatest. I don't regret it. I use that as a learning opportunity. I don't look at it as a mistake. I see it as a learning opportunity. Okay, I don't want to make that same error in judgment. I don't want to make that 5 times over. So using that rear view mirror concept is a great way to say, hey, how many N54 powered BMWs do I want to buy before I finally realize that, yeah, that's probably not the best decision. So always look back, learn from it, but don't regret it. Use it as some way and some means to take control of your life and take that level of ownership, because you've learned a valuable lesson. You can't read those lessons in books. A lot of people will tell you, oh, I know this, or they could have told you, and everybody's hindsight's 20/20. But at the end of the day, it's not about what other people tell you. A lot of times the best lessons we learn are from ourselves. So using that rear view mirror is not about forgetting what happened in the past. It's from learning what happened in the past. You don't have those regrets. Because if you keep repeating the same judgments, bad judgments and error judgments, you could probably find yourself chronically regretting something. But don't regret it. Look at it as a history lesson. And you just don't want to have history repeat itself if it's kind of one of those things that wasn't really in your best interest. So just use all of those lessons in life as a history lesson. A lot of you guys, I mentioned the N54. I owned one. I thought I wanted one. I made a decision. I forged ahead. I bought it. I realized after that I had lots of troubles with it. The car was basically an open-ended book of failures and mishaps and catastrophes and expensive repairs and constant time under the hood. But I don't regret it. I think it was a fun car. I worked through it. I fixed it. I sold it to a person in better shape than the way I got it. And I learned some things. I learned how to fix some things. I got better at wrenching on it. I learned that electric water pumps are a bad thing in BMW world. I also learned that how to take apart the intake manifold and how to change a thermostat. And then again, I handed the car off knowing full well internally that I made a good decision, because I sold it to somebody in 3 times the condition that I found it. And I'm not a martyr, but I do believe that I did something good for somebody. At a very molecular level, I did something right. So again, no regrets there. Do things that are positive. Don't do things that are malicious. I truly believe if you're going to make a move, do something that's very intentional, something that answers to your personal lifestyle. And whatever you want to do, make those decisions and live by those decisions. Stand by those decisions. Don't regret the decisions. I was once told that great leaders often take a decision based on what they know in the moment. They say, I know this from what I understand, the experience and the information I have in front of me. I'm going to make a decision. I'm then going to forge ahead and deliver that decision-making deliverables. I'm going to ask, say, a team to follow through on this decision, or I'm going to make a decision based on what I know, and then I'm going to follow it through. It may not have been the best decision, and then looking after the fact, you may realize, oops, yeah, that wasn't the best decision, because maybe it ended up costing somebody some money, or maybe there was something that happened as a result that wasn't really a desired outcome. But I realize that, again, it's a lesson learned. And if it's a lesson learned I take from that, to me, that's a valuable life lesson. So no regrets. I truly take away from some of those lessons that can deliver some value add. And so you make a decision, you follow, you forge ahead, and keep on trucking. Because again, this goes for anything, and this goes for cars, or this goes for life in general. We all know that we make decisions in life on car choices. A lot of people have asked me, would you buy another F-Type? Obviously, you guys know that I'm huge in the F-Types. I absolutely would buy it again. And I've learned some things. I know there's some problem areas. If we all wanted to buy a Toyota Corolla and be done with it and say, I want the most reliable car, sure, we could do that. But I take what I lessons learned. I know there's some problems. I know there's issues in their differential, there's issues in the engines, and there's problems that you'll find with these cars, but I don't regret it for a moment. I learned a pile of things, and even some of the best car choices I've made, I've learned something from it. I learned Lamborghinis have some of the worst gearboxes known to mankind. I also know that Ferraris are extremely expensive to repair. And I also know that McLarens don't have electrical systems, and I would still buy one because after driving one and learning and experiencing one, I know that I would truly buy one again, or buy one, period, and could clearly make the radar. So I truly believe that making decisions, living to your own values, staying positive, surrounding yourself with good people, all leads to no regrets. Another non-regrettable thing, think about, we all have to think about, we all have a due date, an expiration date, if you will. And nobody wants to really think about that. That's not really something that we want to dwell on, but it's an eventuality. We all have to think about retirement. We have to think about, planning what that day looks like. So part of the regret is just being planned so that you're not, close to those days and you're thinking back, oh, I wish I invested here and I wish I invested there. I wish I didn't spend this or I wish I didn't spend that. Every decision we make has a potential impact. Yes. Is spending $200,000 on a car a better decision than a retirement package? That's your own decision. But you've got to do it on your own accord, and it's got to make sense for you. I mean, for me, I believe that buying that car is an investment in my sanity. It's an investment in my passion, in my mental health. It's an investment in my enjoyment. And if I get to the end of the road and I realize, or I use that car as part of that investment package, say I go out and buy a new Ferrari, I could drive it for 10 years and then realize, okay, there will be depreciation associated with that. That doesn't matter. Even if I part it out and I get 2/3 of the value back, that was hard-earned dollars going into an asset that I can part out later on and still have dollars in the bank. And that can then all go, of course, naturally to my retirement plan. And I have no regrets because I enjoyed it along the way. I got everything out of it I was expecting to get out of it. I have a nice car to polish. I had a nice car to take out for a Saturday night drive. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the experience of the buying of it. I enjoyed, the looking at it and admiring the car and listening to the sounds and the performance and tracking it. Those are all lifelong experiences, which I do not regret, and I would never regret. And yeah, I might have, a couple $100,000 less in the bank at the end of the road. The key is, do you have a few bucks in the bank? Are you sustainable? That's really a big part of it. So you have to think about that. And what does the end of the road look like to you? And do you have enough to cover that off? And if you plan that day, I mean, do what makes you comfortable. But like I said, at the end of the road, I'm just about having no regrets. Remember, we've all had friends. I've had friends. You've had friends. We've all had relatives that have passed away way too young. We all know people that have died at 80 or 90, but that doesn't really, they've lived a life. But, seeing people around, not making it that far, and that not living the life. I know I also had people that had regrets in life where they believed, you know what, I'm too young to have kids, I had a few friends like this where they were married, they went set on life, they, exercised their right to expand on their careers, and they developed their careers, and they lived life, and they traveled and golfed and did all those things, and they didn't regret life at the time. But what they did regret after was not having kids, because as they were going through life, enjoying life, they looked back at 35, 40 years of age, and all of a sudden they're thinking, maybe we should have had kids. And some people don't want kids and some people do. But that's a situation where you have to think about your priorities and think about the inner reflect, right? I mean, it's all about if you really wanted kids and you're just doing it for a different reason. This is the same, goes back to the car conversation. If you wanted that car, but you don't buy it because there's some naysayer around you said, don't do it, it's a waste of money, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's going to have a negative impact you down the road. In the moment, it may not seem like an issue. The same thing goes for not having kids. Well, I'm 35 years old. We don't want kids. I'm 40 years old. Still don't want kids. We're still in the middle of our career. All of a sudden, 50 rolls around. Kids come and gone. We can't do that anymore because it's just not physiologically right and it won't work anymore. So that's where regret can set in. And truly, I do believe that you don't want to have the regrets. If there's a decision you're passionate about and you're putting it off or you're letting naysayers get the better of you, then I think truly you may have some regrets. I'm just saying, do what suits you, do what works for you, and have no regrets. For me, living the car life, absolutely no regrets there. You definitely don't want to have that because you'll look back at 75 and think, oh, I wish I could have done that. We should have done this, could have done that. Don't let the naysayers get you down. Stay positive. Know what actually floats your boat and live the life. Keep with positive people and just kind of live the lifestyle. So anyway, enough of this profound conversation, everybody. Let's get back to cars and conversation there. And tomorrow's video, we're going to dive right back into. I'm going to go for a walk because I already did this. I filmed this video today. And I'm going to reveal that tomorrow. And we're going to look at some great new Jaguars. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. Hope you guys all find it in yourselves to actually hit that subscribe button, because remember, it is about living the life. Life's too short to drive boring cars, but it's also too short to have regrets. Hope to see each and every one of you on the next one. We'll catch you then. Bye-bye.